Hey everyone, welcome back to Daska Discusses. Today I'm going to be looking at my first ever video game review. It's going to be on Rockstars' epic legendary game, Red Dead Redemption 2. And wow, what a journey it was. Red Dead Redemption 2, what can we say about it? Well, about the Vandalin gang and Arthur Morgan, our protagonist, trying to evade the law after a bad heist that went wrong. There will be spoilers in this review. Look, it's not so much a review, more of a discussion of my favorite parts, my ratings on certain things in the game, and my overall, I guess you can say, experience of it. So let's do this. Now, having played Red Dead Redemption Part 1 many years ago, and who could forget that ending as well, if you haven't played it, well, I don't want to spoil it, but I'll tell you what, John Marston was a great protagonist in this, and I was a bit wary, worried about what they're going to do with Red Dead Redemption 2, and well, when you're given the game and you first start off, you're playing off as Arthur Morgan. Now, it does take a bit of time to warm up to this kind of character because you've been playing as John Marston in the original Red Dead Redemption, and it's going to be like that for these type of games where it's a sequel, okay? Now, the game starts off, you start off in the snow. It is quite a slog. Now, a lot of people complain that it does take time, but that's the whole thing about Red Dead Redemption 2. It takes time and patience. I guess you could say every time you dispose of a bad guy, looting them and seeing all the animations, opening up drawers, opening up dressers and closets and all sorts of things, eating cans, even a cup of coffee does take time. Now, the thing is about it is that I really liked it because it gave you that sense of realism. Now, the storyline with all the characters in it, the Vandalin gang with Dutch and Hosea and Micah and Lenny, all these other great characters that come into play. It kind of feels like you're in a mixture of, I guess you could say, Good, the Bad and the Ugly, The Unforgiven, and even They Call Me Trinity, an old Italian spaghetti western back then. Now, you finish from the snow, you get out of there, it is a bit of a slog, but that's all, I guess you could say, a tutorial to find out how to actually control the game, right? Now, as the game moves on, you move to different parts of the map. And obviously the map is like uncovered at times and you find out what's going on and you're given missions to do. You got the main missions, you got your sub missions, and then you got a whole wealth of like strangers that you can make, kind of like in GTA 5 as well, and other little collectible things like dinosaur bones and cigarette cards, etc. The 3/4 of the way through, when we find out about the Arthur Morgan sickness and the tuberculosis, and I'm like, okay, look, I'll just take some medicine, he'll be fine. But as the game goes on, I kind of like got the impression that, well, this is not going to end well. Either he's going to die in a gunfight, or he's actually, will they kill off a player like this by a sickness, which was very interesting. Now, the game has different endings, as you may or may not know, obviously. I tried to be honourable in the game, but unfortunately, you're doing missions and dishonourable things happen, so my dishonour was fairly down, and I got the ending that I deserved with it. I was shot in the face by good old Micah. I think the storyline really worked well, and the characters, it's what actually makes the game. And there are many games, very open world games, but the best ones are the ones that get you invested in the characters and make you want to do the missions to see what happens next. And I felt like that for the majority of the game. 80% of the time, it was like that. It didn't feel like a grind. Okay, the snow stuff and trying to get the Arabian horse and all that, yeah. I found the Arthur Morgan story fantastic. And even at the end, with what happens to Arthur Morgan, like I said, I haven't seen the other endings. I mean, you can look them up on YouTube as well. But it was quite a violent ending to a great character. Now, looking at my favorite parts of the story itself, I would have to say my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts, was when Arthur Morgan finds out he's not well and there's a mission, and then all of a sudden he has to ride back to one of the camps. Now, in that kind of thing, you're just thinking, as I'm playing it, I'm like, okay, cool, well, I'm going to get on my horse and ride back to the my base where I'm meant to be at. But something very strange happened at that point. A song kicked in, and it was called May I Stand Unshaken, or just Unshaken. And it's kind of like, I guess you could say, it goes into that cinematic mode where Arthur's riding through this trail and this song is playing and the lyrics behind the song and just the overall atmosphere and the feeling of this specific part of the game. It just turned it into a movie for me at that, for those good 5, 6, 7 minutes. I know the whole game feels like you're in a movie, but for this part, it just transformed me into the world of Arthur Morgan and what that protagonist was going through. There was some amazing writing, amazing story writing by the creators at Rockstar, and that one scene there was, I think, Rockstar, if not one of the greatest sequences they've put in the game, where there's no action sequences. It's just you riding on the trail with this song in the background, the sunset, the sun going down, and this song. It's just haunting about knowing, and you as the player knowing, well, having an inkling about what is going to come in the future. My second favorite part of the storyline had to be when you end up going to Cuba, which completely threw me off. It was a lot different. I didn't expect something like that. You end up going to this island, and about, I guess you could say, a good 10% of the game is spent there. And I felt that was an interesting add-on to, like, not just have the old West and Saint Denis where you had all the cities and everything, but to be stuck on this island, a completely different location, was a really great part of the game. My third favorite part of the storyline, yes, it was quite emotional and it is pretty full on, but the horse bonding, right? Basically, when you bond with this horse you've had since the start of the game, and my one, you know, I had the same horse since the start of the game, the Arabian that I found in the snow. Having it throughout the whole game, and this game just immerses you in this world of, like, getting pelts and cooking and not cleaning, but shaving, getting haircuts and eating beans and making coffee and skinning animals and eating animals and crafting. There's so many things to do. The bonding of the horse, I thought, oh yeah, well, whatever, it's just a horse. When you get to this point where you've bonded so much and you feed your horse and you're patting and brushing, the part at the end of the game, near the end of the game, right before Arthur Morgan dies, or before the ending, where his horse, where you fall off it, and it's hurt, and he walks up to it, and well, he says goodbye to his horse. The horse passes away. Again, you just knew the ending was coming, and the way they did that, Rockstar, the writing, and the way that led into the final sequence for Arthur Morgan was brilliant writing. So that was my top 3 of the storyline. The bad parts of the storyline, well, not the bad parts, but I guess you could say my opinion, once Arthur Morgan passes and we see the death of him and then the gang splits up, we've got the whole screen that comes up that says many years later, and you take control of John Marston, the original protagonist from Red Dead Redemption. Now, I thought when I first started it and that came up, like, wow, okay, what are they going to do with this? Maybe he's going to get revenge, that's the obvious thing. What I found though was you're put into John Marston's shoes, and he's trying to become a better man, trying to be an honest man, so he gets a job on a farm ranch, and he does all these jobs for a farmhand there, the farmer there, to try and help him out. That all works well, and then obviously he's helping out, you're building things, you're putting fences up. I found this a bit of a slog. He has to help him out with some other gangs, he has to help out the farm with some other gangs that come through, and then you end up buying your own ranch while doing other jobs with other people as well, doing other bounty jobs. What I found about the whole sequence of the John Marston component of the game, it was quite a slog to get through this section of the game. You've got Arthur Morgan with all that happened and the crescendo of, like, the missions and the ending that happened there, and then it completely slows down, and you've got John Marston, who's a well-known character to this franchise, obviously, and you're doing these jobs. I know the game's trying to turn a different corner and trying to, you know, turn you into a farmer. I just found getting to that final point where you're going to basically get your revenge on Micah and possibly Dutch as well, it just took a bit too long. Yes, I know you had to meet up with Charles and you had Uncle there and everything like that. I just felt that it was a bit of a slog. So for me, storyline was great with Arthur Morgan. The John Marston one kind of did slow down the progression of the game. Now, once that all finishes and the credits roll, you've got a big ton of money and the game opens up. You can go back and you can do whatever you want. You got the money to do it. You can go, you get your dinosaur bones, your cigarette cards and all that. I've explored around, I've bought everything I could. I'm still exploring. Now, as an avid open world gamer myself, my collection consists of things like this. So you got GTA 5, I guess Metal Gear Solid 5 as well. Red Dead Redemption 2 does stand up there with the greats. It is definitely one of the greatest games, open world games I've ever played. I think it beats Red Dead Redemption 1, not because of the graphics and because of the innovation in that. I just think it just does because of, I guess you could say, the investment and the characters and I guess, the world itself being a more living, breathing world than Red Dead Redemption 1. Yes, I understand that Red Dead Redemption 1 was done many years ago on the original Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, so things are a bit different, yeah? But Red Dead Redemption 2, in my book, gets a solid 9 out of 10. If not 9.5 out of 10. The only thing that fails it from getting the 10 is the John Marston component. The characters themselves, the protagonist, the antagonists in there, there are a few, and when you think they're your friends, all this happens, and it's kind of like a Game of Thrones episode. I mean, you know, Lenny dies and that Irish guy gets his head blown off. When that happened, I was like, whoa. But Arthur Morgan as a protagonist really worked well. I don't think he was dry and dull like some people have been writing. I don't know why. I just think that the patience needed for this game is a lot different to something like Far Cry 5, okay? Or Call of Duty or whatever. If you can't be bothered and you don't have the patience to actually sit back and literally pick the flowers or smell the roses, then this game wouldn't be for you. And you probably already know that by now. The game did come out in October. I just finished it recently. That's why I'm putting out this review, to discuss what I liked and didn't like about the game. This is all it is. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the game. If you agree or disagree with anything that I've said, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for all your support, and I'll see you next time on Daska Discusses. Boom!